Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing extremely well. Time for the next in the series of Caps Have Donut Legacy Fighters from early Cold War that we need. In DCS, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the Lockheed F-104 Starfighter. Now, people always ask me, what is my favourite plane or my favourite fighter? Well, I have favourite fighters, favourite planes from different eras. It's hard to compare different eras. You know, how do you compare a Spitfire to an F-16 and so on? So, in modernity, I prefer the F-16. It's the prettiest, it's the most raw, it's the most concentrated design for its purpose. And the same kind of goes back towards the early Cold War. In the early Cold War, I've got a problem. I've got two favourites. I've got the English Electric Lightning F6, which is just a beautiful piece of engineering that I love. And I've got the American F-104 Starfighter, and I love it for all the same reasons. It's beautiful, it's purpose-made, fast, awesome engineering, and it sounds amazing. I've had the pleasure of having seen both at air shows, the 104 and the Lightning, even together. So the Lockheed F-104 Starfighter is an American single-engine supersonic interceptor aircraft which became widely used as a fighter bomber during the Cold War. Initially a day fighter, it was developed into an all-weather fighter in the late 1960s. It was originally developed by Lockheed for the United States Air Force, USAF, but was later produced by several other nations, seeing widespread service outside the United States. One of the Century series of fighter aircraft, it was operated by the air forces of more than a dozen nations from 1958 to 2004, so nearly 50 years of use. Now, you know, when you get an airframe that manages to do 50 years, then you've got a real winner. Now, I believe this was the brainchild of Kelly Johnson. I don't think if we're going to have him mentioned here or not, but he developed some seriously, basically all of my favourite planes. Well, some of them. The poor safety record of the Starfighter also brought the aircraft into the public eye, and of course, like many of the planes that I'm really into and are really leading edge, it did have a poor safety record. Lots of pilots died piloting this aircraft. It can be very dangerous if you don't stick exactly within its envelope. The 104 featured a radical wing design. Most jet fighters of the period used a swept wing or delta, which provided a reasonable balance between aerodynamic performance, lift, and internal space for fuel and equipment. The Lockheed tests, however, determined that the most efficient shape for high-speed supersonic flight was a very small, straight, mid-mounted trapezoidal wing. The wing's leading edges were so thin, 0.6 inches or 0.41 millimeters, that they presented a cut hazard to ground crews. Protective guards had to be installed on the edges during ground operations maintenance. Now, I love the curves and the proportions of this jet. It's just such a cool design. Revving up that J79. Origin. Clarence L. Kelly Johnson, Vice President of Engineering and Research at Lockheed's Skunk Works, visited USAF air bases across South Korea in November 1951 to speak with fighter pilots about what they wanted and needed in a fighter aircraft. At the time, the American pilots were confronting the MiG-15 with North American F-86 Sabres, and many felt that the MiGs were superior to the larger and more complex American design. The pilots requested a small and simple aircraft with excellent performance, especially high speed and altitude capabilities. Lockheed chose a small and simple aircraft weighing in at 12,000 pounds, so it's only 5.5 metric tons, with a single powerful engine. The engine chosen was the new General Electric J79 turbojet, my favourite engine of all time. An engine of dramatically improved performance in comparison with contemporary designs. Safety record. The safety record of the F-104 Starfighter became a high-profile news in the mid-1960s, especially in Germany. In all, 120 pilots and crew, including 108 German pilots and 8 USAF instructors, died in German F-104s during peacetime between 25th of January 1962 and 11th of December 1984, with a total loss of approximately 32% of its starfighters, so a third of them crashed, kind of similar records to the SR-71. Some cool pictures there. Cockpit. Lovely, really nice, simple cockpit. Whopping great ADI there, right in the centre. And one thing that doesn't come over in this picture, I don't think, or really in any of the DCS cockpits, is the size, the crampedness of this cockpit. I've not sat in one, but I've been kind of leant over here and saw how tight that is, and it is incredibly tight. Must be really claustrophobic. A couple of other views there. General characteristics. Crew 1, obviously. Length 55 feet. Wingspan about 22 feet, so incredibly small wingspan. Height 13.5 feet. It is very tall. Wing area, an absolute tiny 196.1 square feet. Empty weight, 6.35 tons. Max takeoff weight of just over 13 tons. Power plant 1 times General Electric J79 afterburning turbojet, 10,000 pounds of drive thrust and just under 16,000 pounds with afterburner. Performance, maximum speed 1,528 miles per hour, otherwise known as Mach 2 or thereabouts. Combat range 420 miles. Ferry range 1,630 miles. Service ceiling 50,000 feet, not bad for a thing with such a high wing loading. Rate of climb 48,000 feet per minute, which is really good. Thruster weight is 0.54, that's at max takeoff weight, so I'm not sure what use that is, but otherwise loaded 0.76. Armament 1 times 20mm M61A1 Vulcan 6-barreled Gatling gun, 725 rounds, so that's the same thing we're going to find in the F-14, the F-16, the F-15, the F-18. So it's actually got more rounds than all of them, apart from the F-15, which is quite impressive. Hardpoints 7, which is impressive, with a capacity of 4,000 pounds, 1.8 tons, with provisions to carry combinations of, we've got 4 times AIM-9 Sidewinders of the contemporary version. Pretty cool picture there. Next, we're on to the F-104 story. The Lockheed F-104 Starfighter, also known as the missile with a man in it, is known for many things. It was the first operational Mach 2 capable fighter. It was designed by Kelly Johnston, as we know, and served 15 nations for almost 50 years. One thing it is not known for is its slow speed handling, as you can imagine with that wing loading and design. That is precisely why doing the touch and roll maneuver in it was so amazing. The story goes that this stunt was the product of a legendary Belgian Air Force 104G pilot, a member of their national aerobatic display team, the Slivers, Bill Ongainer. Ongainer did what no test pilot would try, especially in the sleek and high-speed optimized F-104 Starfighter. He could perform a touch and go, do a full roll around and land on the same runway, which is actually amazing for any jet, let alone a bloody Starfighter. He called this the touch, roll, touch, and it was a huge hit with anyone lucky enough to see it in person. I can't believe anyone would do this. And this is also notorious for stalling an engine when going inverted. I've read several stories about that, and let's go and have a look at the link. No, it shows what it can do, and that's very slow speed as well, in the hands of a proper pilot. Very good. So again, we just wanted to keep it short and sweet. If we ever get one in DCS, then I will be a very happy man, because it's such an awesome, fantastic jet. Thank you for Ivan for putting this together, and we'll see you on the next aircraft.